David had never seen a world like this. The bus doors screeched open as Fanny stepped out, her worn backpack hanging from one shoulder. In front of her, a black Bugatti Chiron, a silver Rolls-Royce Phantom, and an orange Lamborghini Aventador pulled up like it was completely normal. This was the University of Presidents' Children, billionaire heirs and celebrity families. And Fanny? She came from the kind of neighborhood where the electricity went out at night. The stares pierced through her the second she walked through the gate. What is she doing here? In the hallways, students talked about watches worth millions, cars shipped to Dubai just to be covered in gold. Fanny counted bus tickets. She always sat alone. All she had was her intelligence, her scholarship, and her determination. But in a world like this, being poor already felt like a crime. The day Olivia, one of the richest girls in the entire university, sat beside her, Fanny had no idea she had just opened a door leading straight into darkness. Every morning, Fanny followed the same routine. A crowded bus, sweat in the air, an exhausted engine rattling through the city. She would get off several streets before campus just to walk the rest of the way, partly to breathe, but mostly to avoid arriving beside the luxury cars. It never changed anything. The second she stepped through those gates, she became the outsider again. High heels clicked against marble floors. Designer watches sparkled under the lights. Perfumes cost more than her parents' monthly rent. Yesterday, my father refused to buy the Ferrari because red isn't fashionable anymore. I sent my Lamborghini to Dubai. They're covering it in white gold. Laughter exploded around her. Fanny walked with her head down. Nobody talked to her, or sometimes they did. "Excuse me, can you move?" Like she didn't belong. Like she ruined the scenery just by standing there. She always sat in the back of the classroom. Not by choice, by instinct. At the front, the rich students took selfies and showed off their perfect lives online. At the back, Fanny wrote every word seriously because she knew she wasn't allowed to fail. One day, a boy looked at her from head to toe and laughed loudly. They give scholarships to just anybody now. The classroom burst into laughter. Fanny felt her throat tighten, but she said nothing. She kept writing. Every good grade became silent revenge. Every correct answer became an invisible slap. But every day the humiliation grew heavier. During lunch breaks, groups formed instantly. Fanny stayed alone with a simple sandwich in her hands. Around her, students talked about restaurants where one meal cost more than what her mother earned in a month. She ate quickly. Shame makes you hungry, but it also kills your appetite. Sometimes she looked around and wondered, how long can I survive here? Some days, she wanted to quit. Then she remembered her mother's tired face. The debts, the sacrifices. So she kept going. What she didn't know was that in this ocean of arrogance, one person was about to approach her, and that helping hand was hiding something dangerous. The truth was, Fanny wasn't there by accident. She wasn't a mistake in the system. Every evening, when she returned to their tiny house, her mother would already be waiting for her, exhausted eyes, worried expression. How was school today? Fanny always answered the same way. It was fine, Mom. She never spoke about the mockery, the stares, the feeling of being dirty among people who looked perfect. Instead, she went straight to her room, sat on her bed, and opened her notebooks. Numbers, plans, calculations. That was her safe place. There, nobody cared if she was poor. Only intelligence mattered. Her scholarship, her exceptional grades. Everything had been earned through sacrifice. But every success pushed her even further away from the others. Even the professors respected her. Excellent analyses, Fanny. You're an example to follow. And the rich students hated it. One day, a girl whispered behind her, "She thinks she's one of us just because she gets good grades." Fanny gripped her pen so tightly her fingers turned white. She wanted to scream, "You were born rich. I worked for this." But she stayed silent. Pride. In silence, she understood one thing clearly. If she fell, nobody would catch her. She wasn't allowed to fail. Not allowed to get tired. Not allowed the luxury of giving up. And then, one afternoon during lunch break, a shadow stopped in front of her table. A soft voice asked, "Can I sit here?" Fanny slowly looked up. Olivia, the girl everyone talked about, the richest among the rich, the girl who sometimes arrived at school by helicopter just to save time. "Can I sit?" Olivia repeated calmly. Fanny looked around as if someone would stop her. Nobody did. "Yes, if you want." Olivia sat down. No phone. No selfies. No fade attitude. Just her. "Why do you always sit alone?" The question hit harder than an insult. Fanny shrugged. "This is where I belong." "What?" Silence. Then Fanny answered quietly without looking at her. "I don't have enough money to be with the others." Olivia frowned slightly. "Since when does friendship cost money?" Fanny laughed bitterly. "When people say, 'My watch is worth millions, while your family is drowning in debt.' Trust me, friendship becomes expensive." Olivia stayed silent for a moment. Then she said softly, "I understand." For the first time since arriving at that university, someone was listening without judging her. But why would a girl like Olivia care about someone like Fanny? "You know," Olivia continued, "I feel different here too." Fanny looked up in surprise. "You?" "Yes. Money doesn't stop loneliness." The words sounded simple. Too simple to be fake, or maybe too perfect to be true. "Would you like us to become friends?" Olivia asked. Fanny hesitated. Her mother's warnings echoed in her mind. But loneliness becomes heavy when you carry it for too long. "Yes, okay." Olivia smiled. "Perfect." That day, students turned to stare. The whispers started immediately. "Why is she talking to the poor girl?" Fanny already felt the pressure rising around her. What she didn't know was that this friendship was about to change her life forever, and maybe destroy it. That evening, the house was unusually quiet. Fanny dropped her bag beside the wall and walked into the kitchen. Her mother stirred a pot slowly, exhaustion written across her face. "Mom." "Yes." "My daughter?" Fanny hesitated before speaking. "Today, a very rich student became my friend." The spoon stopped moving instantly. Her mother turned around slowly. "How rich?" "Very rich." A heavy silence filled the room. Then her mother sighed deeply and sat in front of her. "Listen to me carefully. Having a friend is good, but never compare yourself to them. Never humiliate yourself. And most importantly, never ask them for money. Dignity matters. Even in poverty, money changes people, sometimes without them realizing it. Stay friends with her if her heart is clean, but never become someone who begs." Fanny nodded slowly. "Okay, Mom." She truly believed it. At that moment, Fanny thought she had finally found someone genuine. But over the next few days, everything moved fast. Too fast. At the university, Fanny and Olivia became inseparable. Olivia took her to luxury restaurants where Fanny barely dared to touch the glasses on the table. The waiters smiled too much. The food arrived without anyone checking the prices. Sometimes Olivia disappeared for an entire week. "I was tired of classes," she would say casually when she returned. And every time she came back, she brought expensive gifts. Designer bags, jewelry, useless things, but incredibly expensive. At first, Fanny refused. "No, this is too much." "Stop," Olivia laughed softly. "It makes me happy." Little by little, the boundaries started to disappear. In return, Fanny helped Olivia study. She explained homework, prepared presentations. Sometimes, during exams, she whispered answers quietly. "A perfect friendship," Olivia would joke. "You save my grades, I save your social life." But every small act of cheating created an invisible debt between them. And slowly, something inside Fanny began to change. She liked this new life. The attention, the comfort, the feeling of finally being seen. Without realizing it, she was drifting away from everything her mother had taught her. At first, Fanny used to say no. Then she started saying maybe, and one day, without even thinking, she said yes. Luxury became normal. The restaurants, the cars, the expensive perfumes. The waiters already knew Olivia's name, but now they smiled at Fanny too. They pulled out chairs for her, spoke to her politely, looked at her like she mattered, and that feeling was dangerous. Because once you get used to being respected, you start fearing the moment it disappears. Olivia skipped classes constantly. A week away won't change anything, she said carelessly. Fanny stayed behind and helped her catch up every time. Homework, projects, exams. Sometimes she secretly slipped Olivia answers during tests. Without you, I'd fail everything, Olivia laughed. That laugh made Fanny feel important. For the first time in her life, someone needed her. But every time she cheated, a small voice whispered inside her mind. This isn't right. She silenced it immediately. The rich kids do worse things anyway, she told herself. One evening, Olivia suddenly said, I'll drive you home today. No, it's okay. I'll take the bus. Olivia smiled. Not tonight. Then Fanny saw the car. A black Bugatti Chiron, elegant, silent, terrifyingly beautiful. Her heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, then climbed inside. The engine purred softly like a promise. Fanny had never experienced anything like it before. The leather seats, the scent, the silence. When the Bugatti entered her neighborhood, time itself seemed to stop. Neighbors walked outside. Children pointed at the car in disbelief. The Bugatti stopped. The door opened slowly, and Fanny stepped out. That moment changed everything. From that day forward, she would never again be just Fanny. The next morning, she immediately noticed something different. As she walked toward the bus stop, people stared at her differently. That's the girl who came out of the Bugatti. People greeted her, smiled at her. Even those who had ignored her for months suddenly called her by her name. Recognition, even when it comes from a lie. It still feels good. At the university, it became even worse. The same students who mocked her now wanted to be close to her. So, you know Olivia really well? Where does she live exactly? Fanny avoided the questions. The truth was, she didn't know. Later that day, while sitting beside Olivia during lunch, Fanny finally asked, By the way, where do you actually live? Olivia looked up slowly and smiled. A little far from here. Why? I just want to know where you live too. A short silence followed. Then Olivia answered calmly. One day, I'll take you there. The words echoed strangely in Fanny's mind. My home. Something about it felt wrong. But she smiled anyway. Okay. That night, Fanny kept thinking about the Bugatti. The luxury. The ease of it all. Luxury never enters your life twice without asking for something in return. She just didn't know the price yet. A week later, a message arrived early in the morning. I'm picking you up today. You're finally going to see my world. Fanny read the message 3 times. My world? She laughed nervously. Just a way of speaking, she told herself. Before leaving, she informed her mother. I'm going to Olivia's house today. My daughter. Enjoy yourself. Minutes later, the entire neighborhood froze. A red Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped slowly in front of their house. The tinted window rolled down. Get in, Olivia said calmly. Fanny entered the car. The engine started without a sound. People stared at her again, and once again she enjoyed it. That was the problem. She no longer knew when to stop. The car left the city. Buildings disappeared behind them. The roads became emptier and emptier. You live this far away? Fanny asked nervously. Relax, Olivia replied softly. We're almost there. Then she accelerated. In the distance, the ocean appeared. Closer. Closer. Olivia, where are we going? No answer. The car sped directly toward the water. Olivia, trust me. Fanny's heart exploded inside her chest. She screamed, closed her eyes, and the ocean swallowed the car whole. Silence. When she opened her eyes again, she stopped screaming. The car was moving underwater, not sinking, driving. There were roads beneath the sea, lights, buildings, entire neighborhoods glowing blue beneath the ocean. Olivia smiled calmly. Welcome to my world. Fanny stared around in complete shock. Massive floating houses suspended like gravity didn't exist. Soft blue lights illuminated underwater streets. Vehicles she had never seen before glided through the water as if it were air. This has to be a dream, she whispered. No, Olivia answered quietly. This is reality. Fanny looked down at her hands. She was breathing normally, but we're underwater. Yes. Olivia looked ahead calmly. This is my world. Wonder filled Fanny completely. Pure wonder. Childlike amazement. But there is a dangerous truth about beauty. When something feels too perfect, it is rarely free. The car finally stopped in front of a gigantic mansion unlike anything Fanny had ever seen. The walls looked alive. The structure seemed to move slowly with the water itself. Fanny stepped out carefully, expecting to suffocate. But she breathed perfectly. Inside, the mansion was enormous. Elegant beings with deep, unsettling eyes watched her silently. Olivia smiled proudly. This is my friend, she announced. She comes from the world above. Then together, they all said, Welcome home. Fanny shivered. Olivia guided her through endless hallways and impossible architecture. Finally, Fanny gathered enough courage to ask, So, are you a mermaid? Olivia laughed softly. No, I'm not human. Not a mermaid, not a fish. She paused. You could call me a spirit of the water. Fanny didn't know how to respond. Everything around her felt unreal. At the end of the day, Olivia drove her back home. Before she left, Olivia looked at her seriously. One thing, don't tell anyone you came here. Okay. When Fanny stepped out of the car, everything looked normal again. Too normal. What she didn't know was that one single day underwater was equal to an entire week in the human world. The moment she opened her front door, she felt it immediately. The atmosphere was heavy. Her father stood with crossed arms. Her mother sat nearby with red eyes. Where were you? Her father asked coldly. At Olivia's house. His face hardened instantly. For a week? Fanny frowned in confusion. What? I was gone for 1 day. The slap came without warning. Sharp. Humiliating. You think we're stupid? Her mother's voice broke as she shouted. We searched everywhere for you. The whole neighborhood searched for you. Fanny stepped backward, trembling. Then suddenly, she understood. 1 day underwater. 1 week on Earth. That night, she couldn't sleep. The next morning at university, she grabbed Olivia by the arm immediately. Why didn't you tell me about the time difference? Olivia looked genuinely surprised. Oh, I forgot. Forgot. The word felt wrong. Very wrong. But despite everything, Fanny returned underwater again. This time she tried to calculate carefully. Only a few hours. Never too long. She convinced herself she could control the situation, that she could play with forces far beyond her understanding. Each visit revealed even more luxury, more impossible technology, more beautiful houses, more perfection. And every time she returned, she thanked Olivia. Then the dreams began. Before the arguments. Before the fear. One night, Fanny's mother woke up suddenly, breathing heavily. Our daughter is in danger. Half asleep, her father murmured. I feel it too. Ever since she started following that Olivia girl. She's changing. The next day, they sat Fanny down in the living room. No shouting. Not yet. Be careful with that girl, her mother said softly. There are worlds people should never enter, her father added quietly. Fanny sighed deeply. Fanny truly believed them. At that moment, everything still felt real. In the days that followed, everything moved fast. Too fast. At university, Fanny and Olivia were always together. Olivia took her to expensive restaurants, where Fanny was almost afraid to touch the glasses. The waiters smiled too much. The food arrived without anyone even checking the prices. Sometimes Olivia disappeared for an entire week. "I was tired of classes," she would say casually when she returned. And every time she came back, she brought gifts, bags, expensive things nobody really needed. At first, Fanny refused. "No, this is too much." "Stop! It makes me happy," Olivia would reply with a smile. Little by little, the boundaries disappeared. In return, Fanny helped Olivia study. During assignments, she gave her answers. During exams, she whispered solutions under her breath. A perfect exchange. At least, that's what it looked like. But every small act of cheating created an invisible debt. Fanny could feel something changing inside her. She liked this new life. The attention, the comfort, the respect. Without realizing it, she was slowly moving away from everything her mother had taught her. At first, Fanny used to say no. Then she started saying maybe. And one day, without even thinking, she said yes. Luxury restaurants became normal. The waiters already knew Olivia's name, but now they smiled at Fanny too. They pulled out chairs for her. They spoke softly to her. For the first time in her life, she felt important, respected, visible. And getting used to things that don't belong to you is dangerous. Olivia skipped classes constantly. 1 week absent won't change anything. Fanny stayed behind and helped her catch up. Homework, presentations, exams. Sometimes she slipped her answers quietly. "Without you, I'd fail," Olivia laughed. That laugh fed something inside Fanny. For once, someone needed her. But every time she cheated, a small voice whispered inside her mind, "This isn't right." She silenced it. "The rich people do worse anyway," she told herself. One evening, Olivia suddenly said, "I'm driving you home today." "No, it's okay. I'll take the bus." Olivia smiled. "Not tonight." Then Fanny saw the car. A black Bugatti Chiron. Shiny. Silent. Beautiful. Her heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, then got in. The engine purred like a promise. Fanny had never experienced anything like it before. The seats, the smell, the silence. And when the Bugatti entered her neighborhood, time seemed to stop. Neighbors stepped outside. Children pointed at the car. The Bugatti stopped. The door opened. Fanny stepped out. And everything changed. From that day on, she would never again be just Fanny. The next morning, she immediately felt the difference. Walking toward the bus stop, people stared at her differently. "That's the girl who came out of the Bugatti." People greeted her, smiled at her. Even the people who used to ignore her suddenly called her by name. That's the cruel thing about respect. Sometimes people only give it to you when they think you own something valuable. On the bus, whispers followed her. Fanny stayed calm on the outside, but inside, her heart raced. Part of her loved the attention. Another part felt ashamed. At university, it got even worse. The same students who mocked her before were suddenly trying to befriend her. "So, you know Olivia well? Where does she live exactly?" Fanny avoided the questions. She didn't know. One afternoon during lunch, she finally asked Olivia, "By the way, where do you live?" Olivia looked up with a faint smile. "A little far from here." "What?" "I just want to know where you live too." A brief silence followed. Then Olivia answered calmly, "Okay, one day, I'll take you to my home." The words "my home" echoed strangely in Fanny's mind. But she smiled. Deal. That night, Fanny kept thinking about the Bugatti. The looks. The luxury. The ease. Luxury never knocks twice without asking for something in return. She didn't know it yet, but that invitation would open the border between two worlds. And once you cross certain borders, you never come back the same. 1 week later, the message arrived early in the morning. I'm picking you up today. You're finally going to see my world. Fanny read the message 3 times. My world? She smiled nervously. Just an expression, she told herself. Before leaving, she informed her mother. I'm going to Olivia's house today. All right, my daughter. Enjoy yourself. A few minutes later, the entire neighborhood froze. A red Rolls-Royce slowly stopped in front of the house. The tinted windows rolled down. Get in, Olivia said. Fanny entered. The engine started silently. People stared as the car drove away like they were watching something unreal. Not knowing when to stop is how people lose themselves. The car left the city. The buildings disappeared. The road became emptier and emptier. You live far away? Fanny asked nervously. Relax, Olivia replied. We're almost there. Then she accelerated. The ocean appeared ahead of them. Closer. Closer. Olivia, where are we going? No answer. The car sped directly toward the water. Olivia, trust me. Fanny's heart exploded inside her chest. She screamed, closed her eyes, and the ocean swallowed the car. Silence. When Fanny opened her eyes again, she stopped screaming. The car was driving underwater, on a road. There were lights, buildings, houses, entire streets beneath the sea. Olivia smiled softly. Welcome to my home. Fanny stared in disbelief. Gigantic floating houses, blue glowing lights, vehicles gliding through water like it was air. Everything looked impossible. I'm dreaming, she whispered. No, Olivia replied calmly. This is real. Fanny looked down at herself. She was breathing, but I'm underwater. Yes, Olivia said. This is my world. The feeling inside Fanny was pure wonder, childlike amazement. But when something feels too beautiful to be true, it usually comes with a price. The car stopped in front of a massive futuristic house that looked almost alive. Fanny stepped out slowly, expecting to suffocate. But she breathed normally. Inside, the house was enormous. Elegant creatures with deep, unsettling eyes watched her silently. Olivia smiled proudly. Everyone. This is my friend. She comes from the world above. Then all the voices answered together. Welcome home. Fanny shivered. Olivia guided her through impossible hallways and strange glowing rooms. Finally, Fanny gathered the courage to ask, So, are you a mermaid? Olivia laughed softly. No, I'm not human. Not a mermaid either. She paused. You could call us spirits of the water. Fanny didn't know what to say. At the end of the day, Olivia drove her back home. But before she left, Olivia's expression suddenly turned serious. One thing, she said quietly. Never tell anyone you came here. Okay. When Fanny stepped out of the car, everything looked normal again. Too normal. What she didn't know was that one day underwater equaled an entire week on Earth. When Fanny opened the door to her house, the atmosphere felt wrong immediately. Her father stood in the middle of the room with crossed arms. Her mother sat nearby with red, swollen eyes. Where were you? Her father asked coldly. At Olivia's house. His face hardened instantly. A week, Fanny? She frowned. What? You disappeared for an entire week. The slap came without warning. Sharp. Humiliating. You think we're stupid? Fanny froze. Her mother burst into tears. We searched everywhere for you. The whole neighborhood looked for you. Fanny stepped back, trembling. And then she understood. One day underwater was 1 week on Earth. That night, she couldn't sleep. The next morning at university, she grabbed Olivia by the arm. Why didn't you tell me about the time difference? Olivia looked surprised. Oh, I forgot. Forgot. The word sounded wrong. Very wrong. But despite the fear, Fanny kept going back underwater. Only now she tried to calculate carefully. Just a few hours at a time. Never longer. She thought she could control it. People always think they can control things far bigger than themselves. Each visit revealed more luxury, more impossible houses, more beauty, and every time she returned she thanked Olivia. Then the dreams began. One night, Fanny's mother woke up suddenly, breathing heavily. "Our daughter is in danger." Her father sat up slowly. "I feel it too," he whispered. She changed the moment she met that girl. The next day, they sat Fanny down in the living room. "No shouting. Not yet. Be careful with that girl," her mother said gently. "There are worlds you cannot enter without consequences," her father added. Fanny sighed in frustration. "You're exaggerating. You just don't understand."